Hello and welcome. Wanted to talk to you about Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and you're probably thinking, what the fuck am I doing talking about Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Have you ever found yourself in a state of that place where something is too hot, you feel like you're getting burned, there's this fiery passion, there's a curiosity to life. Just like Goldilocks, she enters into a place that's a bit taboo, she's in a place that she's not invited into. And in life, often we put our opinions across, we run marathons, not only in sports, but we also run marathons in life. We've got our pedal to the metal and it gets really fiery and heated, and then we are left pissed off. The more fire we bring into our life, the more heat we get, and the more tension that starts to build. It's built into our DNA structure, this fiery spirit that we need. We need it. It's what drives us, it's what motivates us into expressions of manifesting in the manifesting world. However, when we lean too far in, like Goldilocks, who gets burnt, who sits on the chair and it's too hard and she's feeling rather frustrated, life gets really hard and we start hitting brick walls. On the other side of that, and what happens in life is we flip, right? We are in the fire, we have our pedal to the metal, and we're in this highly gassed up state of wanting to just force our way through lives. And then when we get too exhausted from that, we have a crash. And sometimes when we're in our creative flow, in our energy of creation and fire, it's acceptable to crash. So this constant fluctuation for some of us works. And then what we want to find is this center point where we're in the just right. Like Goldilocks, she finds the best tasting food, it's the perfect temperature. She finds the chair that's just right, the bed that's just right, where she can soften and surrender. So we either have this hot, fiery state, or we have this state of inertia where we feel stuck. We're laying on the couch, we feel a bit slothish, we hibernate, we are trying to find a sense of solitude, sometimes isolation, there's frustration in that, there's a sense of feeling lazy, and we flip from side to side. I don't like the word balance. I think a homeostasis for everyone looks different, and if you think about a tipping scale, it just tips and then it flips out, and then it tips and it flips out. So if you are in a balanced state, rarely are you going to be there for a very long period of time. How I prefer to think of it is, what are the practices and the skills that we can bring in to motivate our fiery spirit, to drive us into manifesting or living into a life of passion and inspiration, and how do we also bring in these qualities and skills that give us the freedom and the space to soften, to feel stuck. Feeling stuck is healthy. It in the space of the no thing is where everything happens. So when you're in this void, and you can see I've got these scales, what we're always trying to work towards in life is, how do we bring together a center of balance so we can feel the fire, feel the inertia, the place of nothing much is happening, and how do we utilize both of them so we can come to center? If you are a practiced yogi, or you would have heard of these qualities, we call them Gunas. So in the fiery heat and food, there's fiery, heaty foods. Heaty, that's not a fucking word. It's called Rajasic. So we're in the Rajasic energy, we're in our force, we're in our momentum, we're in our moving, heated, fiery passion. When we're in our Tamasic state, we're in our stuck, we don't feel very motivated, we don't want to move too much through life, it feels a bit cold and stagnant. In the center of that is Sattvic energy. Now, we need all three qualities, but in yoga, the idea is that we want to create a beautiful harmony between Rajas, Tamas, and come together in Sattva. So I thought I'd take you through a couple of practices today to give you a little bit of fiery heat, and then to bring you into the Tamasic energy. And what we want to feel in both of those is Sattva. So when you're in your fiery passion, you also feel a sense of stability, a sense of rootedness. And when you're in your state of inertia or you're not doing much, you can also feel the sattvic balance between the harmony and the harmony. Do you like that? So we're trying to find in rajasic heat balance and in the stagnation and stuckness balance. And that's where the blessing is that you can find a place of stability in the heat, when you feel like you're getting burned, when you're in a rush, when you're in life, when you're motivated and inspired, but you're also, you know, trying to get somewhere, bringing this stability and stuckness and stable spaciousness of no thing into the fire, then you get balance. So I'm just going to first start with a beautiful practice that does harmonise and balance between the left and the right, the front and the back, and it's a breathwork practice called Nadi Shodhana Pranayama. You might know it as alternate nostril breathing. So we're going to start there, and then I'll take you into some elements or qualities where you can try and find the balance between both. We are going to use balance poses. Now, I like to use props. I'm a lover of props. You're going to need 2 blocks for this. So go and get yourself best investment you'll ever make. The beautiful thing of yoga is it's made to take off the mat. It is not really only for using in your practice. And as a therapist, coach, spiritual teacher, I always say to my clients and my students, the work we do together in the teaching and learning is not the work that you need to take out into your life. Really, the work is taking what you've learned, taking what we've brought into the sessions, on the yoga mat, in the students' classes, in the coaching space, in the therapeutic alliance. And what you do is you bring that into your life and you use what we learn in our practice as the motivating force and as the skills and the tools and the processes so that you can take them into your world, into your life. So I highly recommend you using these because they are beautiful props to have. I've also got a bolster I'm sitting on. It's nice for your pelvic bowl because everybody's physiological structure, their anatomy is made different. So if you would like to have a nice center where you're not hanging in your knees, you're not hanging in your hips, then a bolster is a really nice offering. If you don't have a bolster, use cushions. If you don't have blocks, use really thick books. Now, I'm going to also offer you some suggestions to sit. So you could either sit cross-legged, right? Or you can sit on these blocks. So you might have just the block on the lowest setting. So you're sitting here like this. This can be really comfortable. For some of us with knee injuries, this is not going to be an option. You can also have the bolster and have it sitting so that you can sit and straddle the bolster. I quite like this, particularly I have a hip injury, so I find any opening of the hips in a seated position can sometimes interrupt or make it a little bit aggressive, which is the rajasic. Now, if I was forcing myself to sit in a cross-legged position and I have a hip injury, that is when we are leaning too much into the fire. We are going to get burnt. We're going to re-injure or create or inhibit the healing process of that hip. That is rajasic. That is a rajas mentality. It is pushing into a place where you are feeling the heat and you're ignoring the flames that are burning you. I hope this is making sense. A bit like Goldilocks eating the hot porridge. So if you are in the tamasic state, then you're going to sit and you're going to flop into this and you're going to let your neck close over. Everything's going to feel a bit floppy. And you're like, why would I bother? So what we want is we want both. We want a bit of stability through our center. We want to have our opening through our shoulders. We want to feel a little bit sturdy in our seat. And then we also want to be able to soften and drop the shoulders away from the ears, the jaw softening, the cheeks. And that is where sattvic energy starts to flow in. We've got a nice balance between the heat and the stagnation, and then the center of that is we've got both. So then you're just going to place your hands down on your legs. If you're sitting cross-legged, they will sit on your knees. And then we're going to turn our palms up and just see what that feels like. Can you feel a little bit more energy start to flow through you when your palms are up? Then just place them down. Then you're going to take your first two fingers and your thumb. And you're going to place the first two fingers in between your brow, just here. And then your thumb is going to come onto your right nostril, and your ring finger is going to come onto your left. And I'll just turn to the side so you can see this. So your thumb is on the right side, your ring finger is on the left, and your two fingers are up between the brow, just pressing into Ajna chakra, your third eye. You don't need to know this. Drop your shoulder down so you're softening in, and the stability is around the seat and your rib structure, so your ribs are gently closed over. You might like to just watch for a few breaths, and then you're going to just seal off the right nostril, close down the eyes and breathe in through the left side. And all we're going to do is just practice breathing through the left nostril. So the right nostril is slightly pinched in. You don't have to force it all the way in, but you're just sealing off the breath, the prana, the life force through the left side. And you're going to breathe through the left nostril. Inhaling through the left nostril with your mouth closed. Exhaling through the left nostril. And just do that a few times. This left hand, you might bow your thumb and first finger and just have it sealed down on the knee. Then you're going to seal off the left nostril, turning to the side so you can see, and open up through the right. And you can feel the spaciousness already through the right nostril. You might have a slightly blocked nose. If that's too tricky for you, just lessen the pressing in of the fingers. Now we're going to alternate. So you're going to press into the thumb into the right nostril, open up through the left, and breathe in. Pause at the top of the inhale, seal off the left side with the left ring finger, and then open up through the right, breathe out through the right. Inhale through the right side, seal off the right side, exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Exhale through the left. Do that a few rounds, sealing off the right side with the right thumb. Inhaling through the left. Sealing off the left nostril. Exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right. Exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left. Exhaling through the right. And do that a few more rounds. I'm going to quieten down and let you just flow through this practice. Watch the mind. As you inhale through the right, imagine the energy is traveling up to the left midbrain. As you exhale through the left and inhale through the left, imagine this beautiful energy traveling through the right side of the brain. A few more rounds. Keep the shoulder dropped, spaciousness through the chest and the throat, anchoring down into the seat. 2 more rounds. And then releasing the hand, dropping it down, bowing the first finger and the thumb, and just we're going to sit. And this is the tamasic state. We're just going to sit still And allow the freedom of the breath to flow through both nostrils. Soften the jaw, the lips, the teeth. Tuck the chin in slightly, shoulders resting down. Eyelids softly closed. And for some of us in our tamasic state, we're waiting for something to happen. There's an impatience starting to build, the fire starts to rise. Without the heat, this sense of frustration in feeling as though you're doing nothing. And while you're doing nothing, everything is happening. There's a discipline in the mind that's required to sit. An availability for you to focus on your nostrils and the breath through both of them to allow freedom. But if you were to sit for days, for hours, for years, then the balance becomes an imbalance. So on its own, it's a really healthy process to sit in this space. But when we go too far into it for too long, it becomes quite detrimental to our health overall. So just tucking the chin down, gazing down in front of you. I'm just going to remove any props. Having the blocks at the front of your mat. If you don't have a yoga mat, it's fine to do this on the earth. And you're just going to have the blocks. And all we're going to do is we're going to come into tabletop. Now, if I was going to create a sense of stuckness, a sense of energy that allowed you to feel like you couldn't move, then I would keep you here for a long time, right? So what I want you to think about doing, and these are very simple practices that aren't so simple because the mind gets involved. I want you to press down through the knuckles of your fingers. So it takes the pressure off your thumb. So pressing down, and I want you to just check, are your wrists and your shoulders stacked? Then press down through the tops of your feet. So you're pressing down through the feet almost so the knees want to rise off the mat. So you're starting to activate the belly. Belly starts to pull up into the spine. Ribs are closing over, so that's going to protect your back. So you're not arching or you're not tucking in. You've got a nice flat back. And with pressing down through the feet and the hands, there's a sense of stability. In our sattvic state, if we were to stay here, what we'd want to bring is a little bit of fire into the belly, but also a stable, beautiful flow of breath so that you feel that state of no thing. And that's where the balance between bringing heat and inertia into a sattvic state of harmony. So from here, we're just going to start to rock forwards and back, but instead of using your hips to move you, you're going to use your navel like you're drawing up and down the mat with your belly. So belly is still anchored and switched on. And and now with the breath, can you breathe in as you rise up towards the front of the mat? And as you exhale, just come back down. And then centering off, and now pressing the big toes into the mat. And we're just going to press out through the outer glutes. And as you press out through the outer glutes, so really press like you're pushing your muscles out, we're going to open up through the heart and the chest. Now, the reason why I ask you to press out here is it brings less fire into the spine and more focus is on the glutes, because if you weren't to have any activation through there, you would overarch and that would be counterintuitive, and that's where you would get burnt. Too much rajasic energy means too much force, we're not connected, we're not able to find that harmony and balance between both. So pressing the outer glutes down through the big toe, opening up through the chest. And again, if you're in a rajasic or too much heat and you're going to just be too far forward, you're going to overextend the neck. What we want to do is imagine as though the crown and the base is being drawn, not the neck. So you're just imagining that the crown of the head is lengthening and the glutes are opening up. And then on the exhale, you're going to press the tops of the feet down and hug the belly into the spine. Let the neck hang heavy. Inhaling, opening up, pressing the outer glutes, the big toes, so you're not overarching or extending through the neck. Hugging the belly in. You can do this as many or as little as moments as you want, but this will bring in a nice balanced state of being where there's a little bit of warmth and a little bit of stabling. That doesn't even make sense, does it? Stabilization. You don't have to take yourself too seriously when you're doing this. Just flow into the inhale and then into the exhale. And now settling into a tabletop. From here, you're going to curl the feet under. If you've never practiced yoga, we don't have to call it, we're just making shapes with the body. You're going to just come into what is called a downward facing dog. Now, in a downward facing dog, what you want to feel is a nice balance between the hands and the feet. If you want to play, you might walk in a little bit closer. That might feel like you're in too much of a forward fold and it's a lot of pressure on the back and you can't get the hips up. Then play with walking a little bit further back. Heels do not have to touch the earth. Come all the way up onto your tiptoes. Open up the shoulder blades. So feel the rolling out of your shoulders. If that doesn't feel right, what you're going to do is bend gently through the elbows. Press, rotate the thumbs in. There's a lot going on here. Push the hips up into the sky, belly hugging in, and then lower the heels down to wherever they make it. If I was to keep you here, you'd get Rajasic. There'd be a lot of heat. You'd get huffy and puffy and you'd get really frustrated. Walking your hands back towards your feet. This is called Uttanasana, forward-facing fold. Big bend in the knees. Soften here and let your neck hang. Let the backs of the hands just rest on the earth. This is a really nice way to release through the back of the neck, the back of the spine, and then just slowly start to bend through the knees and come into what is called a halfway lift. Maybe your hands are on your shins or they're a little bit higher up. And again, like we said before, lengthening. So the crown of the head and the lower spine is being drawn. And that will require a gentle engagement of the belly. So there's a little bit of fire, but also a stability. So you're anchoring down through the feet. You're hugging up through the thighs. Lengthening through the spine. So there's a gentle flat back and there's no pinching through the neck. And this is what a balanced place of energy is. There's qualities of both. Again, if I was to leave you here, you would probably get into too much heat. Forward-facing fold. Reaching up, looking up, bringing the arms all the way up to the top, and then just standing in a nice state. Now from here, we're going to build some fire. And in that fire, I'm going to ask you to come on a process with me to breathe into the practice to find that sattvic energy. So the mind can build fire without the body coming on board, but also the body can build fire and the mind can create the stability for you to be in that harmonious state. It's a discipline. So you're going to take the blocks and just have them probably hip width, shoulder width apart. We're standing with our hips hip width apart. You're just going to walk up a little bit closer to the block. This will take a little bit of practice to just align. Then you're going to bend the knees down slightly and step the left leg back. So the left leg is going to come into a high lunge. Now what you want is just peel the front toes up and press the ball of the big toe, little toe down on the heel. And then just check in with that belly and the hips. If you are overarching, can you say, I tend to have a very hypermobile state of being. So I'm going to hurt and bring too much heat into my back. It's not where we want our Rajasic energy. So you're going to, if that is you, then you're just going to tuck the glutes in slightly, press out through that heel. So see how I was up on the heel? Press down through the heel. So you can really feel that anchor through both feet. And then just play with the hips. If you tend to hinge too far forward, you're going to be hanging. So you want to be able to really hug the belly in, pull up through the thighs, and then maybe you lengthen through that back leg. Now, if I was to keep you here, I would be bringing in a lot of Rajasic energy, raising up the arms, spreading the fingertips out wide. Softening the jaw, letting the breath flow through the nostrils. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just bring the blocks to either side of the foot and walk them out, and then you're going to start to come up into what is called Warrior 3. Okay, now here, what we want is we want to be able to fully trust that our stable base, the leg that we're resting on, the right leg, is going to hold us, and the blocks, we're not leaning fully into the blocks, we're just resting our hands. Now the wrist and the shoulders should be aligned. The hips should be facing forward. So if you just gaze down at your hips, you want to be facing forwards. You might have a gentle bend in your knee, particularly if you've got a lot of tightness through the hamstring. And then that back foot, like it is pressing on that back wall, you want it to be really activated, so there's heat. Now, for a beautiful balance between heat and stuckness, because if I keep you here, you're going to get too fiery and you're going to get frustrated, and then you're going to want to flop to the floor. What we want to be able to do is anchor down, find the breath. Can you find the flow of balance between heat and stagnation in the breath? 2 more breaths here. Then you're going to bend through that front leg and come back into your high lunge. And you might feel those wobbles. See, it's actually okay. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to step forwards and we're going to take a little bit of a wriggle. And you'll feel the heat in that right leg, right? Can you feel that? It's actually really nice. It brings aliveness to us. It brings inspiration. So really simple practices, not so simple, and they require a little bit of discipline. So now we're going to just stand here again. I'm going to bring these here. We're going to do the other side. And you're going to step the left leg forwards. This side might be a completely different sensation through the body. Again, you might be up on that back foot to start with, just so you can feel into the hips and where they need to be positioned, hips facing forwards. Then you might press down through that back heel, so you've got a bit more of an opening through that right hip. Feel into the spine. How does it feel? When I make adjustments, I never ever go around and make physical adjustments. A lot of my students like that. What I prefer to teach is you to align your own body, because by look, everyone looks very different, and what is going on the internal structures of you will be different. So if you can feel into what feels healthier and more spacious, then you are going to be able to take this through your life and not need someone to tell you how you should be. So, feeling into where feels good, raising up the arms, spreading the fingers, lengthen through those fingers, and then start to lean into those blocks. You might need to walk them out so they are stacked on your shoulders and your wrists. And then pick that back leg up. Now we went a bit quicker into that. Bend through that front knee if you need a little bit more room. Check down, face down, looking at the hips, pressing that back foot against the back wall. So really flexing that back foot. So everything is heated. There's fire. And if it starts to get too hot, find the breath. You're stuck a little bit here. Can you find the sweetness in this fire? That beautiful place of harmony. Mine are making adjustments because my wrists are not over my shoulders. And just play with this and feel into it. One more breath. Bending through that front knee, stepping back into your high lunge. Wobbles are welcome. And then stepping into just standing. How does that feel? So now I've brought you into some heat. I've given you the option to bring some coolness through the breath into stabilize and find that center and balance. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to take our legs out really wide. Put our hands on our hips and then slowly just check in with your feet. If you've gone too wide, you're going to either be leaning on the outer toes or you're going to be rolling in. What you want is you want to feel really stable between the big toe and the little toe and the heel. So you've got an anchoring. And then you're going to place your hands on your hips and you're going to slowly start to hinge, belly's hugged into the spine, not so much that you're suctioning in, and then you're just going to lean forwards. And again, like I always say, because I teach energy alignment and flow, where you are, you want to be able to feel the spine or the lower coccyx and the crown of the head lengthening. So it's not arching or curling, it is feeling a nice, sturdy, stable space where you've got integrity. Chin slightly tucked in so there's a length through the neck. And then you're going to take your hands and maybe you drop them down. Maybe you spread your feet out wider, but not at the risk of your feet losing their integrity and their base. And then we're just going to walk, hug the belly in and walk over to our left side. You might take your left ankle or your left big toe or your left outer toe, depending on how bendy you are. Then you're just going to take that right arm up into the sky. So it's a gentle twist. Again, we're bringing a little bit of fire, but also a stable base to build that beautiful sattvic energy. Thumb should be in your vision. Exhaling, coming down, coming back to the other side. Raising up the left arm or the right arm, whatever side you're on. Forgot I was mirroring. Back to center. Then from here, hands down, turning the heels in and just walking them in a little bit closer. Now, for some of us, this yogi squat is not going to be for you, particularly if you've got knee injuries. If that's the case, what you're going to do is you're going to bring a couple of blocks and you might sit on them like this, nice, wide, stable. And then you can actually feel what it feels like to have an opening through the hips and opening through the feet. Maybe you press the elbows in. If that's not the case, you might not do this at all, or you might just sit onto a bolster, right? And then you're going to come onto your bottom and then just take a moment to lay down. Really simple practice. I don't want to take you through too many different things at once because it's really nice just to feel into those places, to feel the heat, to feel the steadiness and the idea that we're not going too far. So just lay here. Notice the fire. You're probably ready to keep going. And for that reason, I'm going to stop there and just give you that beautiful feeling of heat coming in, stabilizing through it, breathing, alternating nostril breath, or Nadi Shodhana Pranayama is so beautiful for the left and right integration of brain, embracing our creative forces with our logic thinking. It is good for people who are quite stressed. It's a great discipline for insomnia. There's so many beautiful qualities of the practice that I just took you through. It's a very simple practice, but not so simple, and I hope you enjoyed it.